So one day, this girl and her sister, they start noticing weird things going on in their home. Like whenever they leave the room, the TV channel randomly changes, or sometimes an item will randomly move and it's not in the same place they left it. It's like their house is haunted. So the sisters, one's name is Tina, and the other we'll just call Sister. So Tina and Sister, they start to notice all this, and they go to their dad, and they tell him, "Hey Dad, some weird stuff is going on in this house." And Dad's like, "Whatever, kids, you're probably pranking each other or something." But then Dad starts to notice weird stuff happening too. Like one day he comes home and he can see that even though no one had been home all day, someone had used the bathroom and didn't flush. So Dad knows something's up, and he starts searching the house for an intruder. And he looks around in this room and another room, but he doesn't really find anything. Then he opens a closet door, and suddenly, bam, a strange man is towering over him with his face painted. And the man has a hatchet in one hand and a wrench in the other. And he orders everyone to get into the bedroom. Now Tina, she thinks fast, and she bounces out a nearby window. And she runs and she goes as fast as she can over to a neighbor's house. And there she calls police. And so minutes later, police arrive. But by the time they get there, the weird man has already fled. Luckily, he didn't hurt the family. But at this point, it doesn't really matter, because Dad and his daughters are totally freaked out. They don't want to go back to the house until that man, who we'll just call Slasher, they don't want to go back home until Slasher is captured. So they go and stay in a hotel. But then, a few days later, Dad has to go back to the house to pick up a few of their things. And as he pulls into the driveway, boom, he sees Slasher standing there staring at him through the window. And so he immediately calls police. And so police get there again, and they go inside again, and there they find on the wall is a knife sticking through a picture of the family. And written on it in magic marker, it says, "I'm still here, come and find me." And then they see another family picture with a knife sticking out of it. And on that one is written, "I'm going to unalive you." So then police get right to work, and they search the whole house. And they can't find anyone. But then one of them notices there's a kind of fake wall in the bathroom. Like it's a real wall, but it was just put there to hide some pipes, so it's not solid. And behind that fake wall, there's a crawl space. So the officer looks through the space and he sees a large pile of clothes back there. And he's like, "I bet Slasher is hiding in those clothes." So he says, "I know you're back there, come out or I'll shoot." And of course, Slasher gives up and steps out. And when he does, they notice he's not a scary Jason Voorhees type character. He's actually a tall 17-year-old teenager named Danny. And Danny had actually briefly went on a date with Tina back in the day. But that's the extent of their relationship. And I guess at some point he had broken into the family's house one day, and he had been hiding, living in the walls for a couple of months. And he had been moving stuff around and changing their TV channels randomly, and he had just been watching them the whole time. Anyway, so they arrest Danny and they throw him in a youth detention center, and 10 months later, his mom bails him out, thinking maybe he had learned his lesson. Spoiler alert, he didn't, because once Danny's out, he immediately starts breaking into neighbors' houses again and stealing things. And one day, he goes to rob a house, and it's his second time robbing it, but this time he actually brings a pew-pew that he had stolen. And once he's inside, he starts pocketing things here and there, but then he hears some keys trying to open the front door. So he freezes. Now usually he would take this as his cue to leave, but this time he hears a woman's voice. And it's a pregnant mom and her 5-year-old son coming home. And so suddenly, boom, Danny rushes out at them with his pew-pew, and he takes them both and he forces them into the bedroom. And he locks the kid in the closet, and then he ties the mom to the bed, and he essays her, and then he unalives her. Then he unlocks the closet, and he takes the 5-year-old out, and he unalives him in the bathtub. And as Danny's leaving the house, in walks a 7-year-old daughter. And then he takes her and he unalives her in a bathtub too. And then later, when the husband gets home, he finds them and he calls police. And of course, at this point, Danny has taken off. He's long been on the run. But that same night, after a manhunt, police finally find him, hiding out in a local dumpster like the trash he is. So they arrest him, here's a picture of him being arrested, and here's his mugshot, and here he is in court because he eventually goes to trial and he's found guilty and he's sentenced to life.